He's not gonna be taking a picture with Taylor Swift.
Yeah, he wanted that picture.
I wanted that picture when they played the Bills.
Yeah.
Shit,
I was like, Taylor, tap in. Please,
I know.
Please tap in, Taylor. He's asking you kindly. Please tap in.
Those worlds colliding.
Oh my God, a Benny Taylor. I would take Benny Taylor over Benny Ice Spice any day. I mean, or Taylor Ice Spice. Even Benny Ice Spice would be something too.
Yeah, it would be.
But Benny doesn't do drill. Benny doesn't do drill.
But Taylor Swift, just a picture. Just a picture.
Put Taylor in a Scully. Let's do it. Good afternoon, beautiful people. This is another episode of Album Mode. We review a new album every single week. We look at the lyrics, the production, the overall aesthetic of the album, and how that album fits into the context of that artist's career. If you're watching us on YouTube, leave us a comment. Make sure you subscribe to us. Share this video. We're on our way to 5,000. Please help us get there. My name is Adriel Smiley, a.k.a. AdrielSmiley.com, a.k.a. Adriel Smiley Official, a.k.a. The Godfather, and we are here like we are every single week with His Royal Highness, a.k.a. The Bunny, a.k.a. CP3, King Grant.
Welcome back, people. We're here also with our producer, Agent Zero, Patient Zero, Chris, and we're doing a very nice review on Everybody Can't Go, Benny the Butcher.
Yes.
This is what our second review.
Our second Benny review. Our last one was in 2020.
Yeah, and before this podcast, I was not listening to Griselda, like literally 0%. Like I was not listening to Griselda at all. So I've somehow gotten sucked into it by you specifically.
Yeah, because you were definitely, especially Westside in particular.
Yeah.
Westside was not your cup of tea.
Still not. Still not. Still not. I'm going to tell you right now, what is the song?
Griselda Express?
That's a skip for me.
Wow.
I cannot stand his voice. It's actually one of the... Genuinely, I think it's the worst voice in hip-hop, maybe even history. Like, it's actually bad.
I think that's a good place for us to start because I do feel like it's important people know where you stand, you know? And that's...
I like Benny the Butcher, though.
But if you hate Westside's voice, that's like a specific kind of hate, you know? So.
I just think... I just can't stand it. I just genuinely... He sounds like a 16-year-old... But he's like 35 or something like that.
Yes,
but he sounds like
he's almost 40. Yeah,
yeah. He sounds like a 16-year-old, like rapping on anything that he raps on. I just can't. I can't take it. But I actually really like Benny the Butcher though.
No,
he's my favorite member of Griselda. By far.
think Benny is the member of Griselda, like the chosen one, the young buck. Like I think if we're comparing it to a other kind of New York based rap group, like Dipset, he's the Joel Santana of Griselda.
Okay.
And I would say he's probably done better than Joel Santana already in terms of actually fulfilling his potential. This is probably one of the most underground artists we've reviewed. I was looking through his chart history. There isn't much there. Johnny P's Caddy went gold last year.
Yeah.
The first, I think, plaque in Griselda history. Just hard to believe. That featuring J. Cole. So, you know, I think in hip hop, he's a name that people know for sure. But I think when it comes to commercial success, he's very much in the infancy stages still. Yeah,
and I think that he's gotten to this point where, like, I would consider him an underground legend. Griselda, for sure, underground legends at this point. And they have this very, like, old school, which is, now it's considered old school 2000s, 90s hip hop style. People are rapping a lot about drug dealing, coke dealing, coming up in the streets, rapping and dealing at the same time and trying to figure out which one is more profitable. That's very 90s, 2000s hip hop.
Very much.
So they've Griselda overall, but Benny the Butcher specifically has garnered that style, and I feel like they're kind of just like the king of that style. Nobody else really does that anymore, except for Pusha T.
And Freddie sometimes.
Yeah, Freddie Gibbs sometimes, right? So they're in a class of, like, you know, very, very select dudes. They only rap, right? You're not going to hear a Benny the Butcher sung hook. That's not happening.
No.
But it's working out for them because the profile has only grown, right? Even when they went through that instance with Eminem and Shady Records, they escaped that and they're still more popular than they've ever been. So it's not like, even though it's like, it's infancy in a mainstream sense, but if you're a hip hop enjoyer, if you're a hip hop head,
They're legends.
Yeah, you've been paying attention. You've been, what was like the breakthrough tape for them?
I would say Tana Talk 3.
Yeah.
Or Plugs I Met. Plugs I Met was the big one for Benny because Black Thought was on it, Jadakiss was on it. And I'm happy you mentioned this story because I think that's a huge part of this album for people who are like new to Benny or hearing Benny for the first time. He raps about his story, and his story is almost a hip hop story that people are aware of, even if you're not a big fan.
Yeah.
You talked about them signing to Shady Records. That was a big deal at that time. And they left Shady to go to Rock Nation.
Yeah.
And having kind of two of the goats of the culture co-sign these guys has been a big, big buoy in their growth. Now, I want to go through how we got to this point with Benny the Butcher because you said he's an underground legend. I'm going to explain why. 2018, Tana Talk 3. Now, that's where I first got onto Benny. 97 Hove came across my timeline somehow, and I said, boy, and everyone knows I'm a huge Jay-Z fan, so calling a song 97 Hove, that's like...
They suckered you in.
No, it worked. It worked. And at that time, I knew a couple songs, but I wasn't a Benny fan yet. Tana Talk 3, 2018, but that was when a lot of people kind of first heard of him. And that was, the first big mixtape after he had changed his sound. A lot of people don't know this. Griselda didn't always rap on this kind of beat, especially Benny. Right. Benny was rapping kind of like on what everyone else was rapping on, and then made the switch to say, we're doing this Grammy sound. So Tana Talk 3 was a breakthrough of that. Plugs I Met in 2019, I think that was the beginning of the real critical acclaim.
I think it's when Pray for Paris came out with his West Side Gun. That is when I felt like everybody was talking about them, which is still 2020.
2020? Okay, right? That makes sense.
So
that was them really blowing up a little more.
That's when I felt like you could not escape. Again, if you were a hip hop person, you could not escape Griselda. And then the boom of West Side Gun was also inescapable.
Yeah.
So when it got to that, so like it was Pray for Paris, and then I think Burden for Proof was the same year.
Yeah,
right?
2020 was Burden of Proof.
Burden of Proof, sorry. Yeah, and so that's when it was like really like they're on. Like that's when it really got hot for them.
And I think that's kind of why we did Burden of Proof at that time. Just for a refresher, you gave it a 5.5.
Yeah.
I gave it an 8. I think I'm the Benny fan. I'm a Benny fan. I think that was the beginning of the mainstream rap circles knowing who they were. And I think that before was very much critical acclaim, underground rap. Burden of Proof was the start of that changing. And then from Burden of Proof, we go to Plugs I Met 2, the follow-up to Plugs I Met, and then Tana Talk 4, which is where that song, Johnny P's Caddy, is from. And that was in 2022. So it's been 2 years since we've gotten a Benny project. Obviously, this is long awaited. Now, he's been someone who has worked with a lot of well-known spitters. He's worked with a lot of legends.
Yep.
And that's kind of how I got onto him. Is like, okay, this guy has a song with Black Thought and Jadakiss, and he can hang. Okay, he must be really good at rapping. What do you think is the best feature on here? Because that's something he's kind of kept through all his projects is I bring out the best features in people, or I get on the best features. So do you think there's one here that stands out to you?
Yeah, I think that the feature with Peasy, it's the very last song.
Big Timers.
That hook is gas, right? And usually, I like to highlight hooks every once in a while for the projects. This album, right? I think that this is the best hook on the entire album, right? Where it's like, I'm with the same niggas grinding, everybody with me shining big houses, my car is off the lot. When these hoes see these diamonds, they gon' know I'm big time and bandana on my head like I'm Pac, right? I pray my niggas beat them cases. They on federal vacations. Don't be out here rapping shit you're not. Since a nigga got this buzz, they don't remember who I was. I'm the same who used to sell you drop, right? That was like I replay that song multiple times over just to hear the hook. Right. So if the feature is drawing me back to the song more than Benny is, the actual artist, that tells me everything I need to know.
Big Timers, I like that as an outro too, because it sounds the most like the rest of hip hop of any song on here. And to have that be the outro is such a unique spot because it almost can like take you back to listen to whatever you listened to before. You know, it's like, you know, you take a break, listen to Benny, brings you to in like a time capsule. But if you're gonna go back to listen to whatever you listened to before, Big Time is like a good gateway drug.
Yeah.
For that, mine is Armani Caesar on Buffalo Kitchen Club.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the best song to me on here, but I think that how he uses that feature is very, very neat because that beat sounds very much like a Benny the Butcher beat. Like if you know Benny the Butcher, you probably heard a beat similar to that before. And to have her come in to start that off is like, you know, you're giving a woman a real grimy entrance, which is not, you know, not very common. So for that, it's like you're already in like kind of a grimy attitude, grimy mood with the beat. And then once she starts rapping, you're like, okay, we're here now. So for me, I think that was the best feature because that was a feature where her voice, I think, made that song what it was. Yeah. Benny would have still killed that on his own regardless, of course. But, you know, she really made that song what it was. And to me, there's one feature missing.
Missing? What do you mean?
And for the Benny the Butcher fans, you know the name I'm about to say, that's 38 Special. Him and Benny have...
I'm like, wait, how this guy's about to say, it's like, oh, where's the J. Cole feature or something like that?
38 Special. 38 Special and Benny have been frequent collaborators for many, many years. Yeah. Some of Benny's and Special's best songs are together. They kind of have like almost a Drake and Wayne in their part of their career type of deal. So to see 38 Special not on this album at all, I thought was interesting. Now, Benny did, he rumored, he said it himself, that he's going to be dropping another album at the end of the year. Yeah. So maybe 38 Special will be on that album, but to have him not on this, I thought was very interesting because Stove God Cooks is on here. You know? So it wasn't as if he only went with the big name features, you know, like he's still keeping it underground in a sense. So I thought 38 Special, you know, he could have been on Pillow Talk and Slander. I think that would have been a good one for him to be on, but that's the only thing missing. Other than that, I basically love all the features on here, and I think, you know, the production goes well with the features. Yeah, the title track, Everybody Can't Go, that one really, really reminded me of 2007, and I was like, yeah, this is kind of the difference in where Benny is. Even though this album has a lot of old school vibes, this would have been the single, I think, if he put this album out 15 years ago. Oh, you know, okay. I think the rap R&B combo was like classic first single at that time. You know what I mean? Like
definitely in that era.
And kind of the tempo as well with like it is a sample, but it's almost like, you know, halfway sped up, halfway pitched. Yeah. So I do like it, but it definitely reminded me of like, yeah, this would have been the single for whoever in 2008.
Yeah, I think that you know, to be honest, Pillow Talk and Slander would have been the 2004 single would have been that.
In my notes, I have that here, and I put LimeWire type beat.
Yeah. Pillow Talk and Slander, it's with Jadakiss and Babyface. Yeah. If that doesn't say 2004 single to you, I don't know what does, you know? And it's another one of those tracks where I don't know if it's a sample. I'm just at the point now where I assume.
You assume, yeah.
It's just gonna all be samples because this is like Alchemist and like Hit Boy making the songs, right? So it's not like it's outside of the realm. But yeah, I like that. The production on that. It's got like, you know, like the twinkles. It's got like the guitar that is like they chop. I feel like that's like a elongated guitar like sound that they had, and they just like kept chopping it and then rearranging it until they got a sound that they really liked because it goes for like it goes like dun, 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 you know what I mean? So I think that's a cool effect. I think that the production is really cool, man. I actually really enjoy the production on this. I think that it's got more creative than his previous works. It was better than Burden of Proof. I don't know if it's better than Pyrex Picasso.
Pyrex Picasso is really good. I
love Pyrex Picasso. Really this is my favorite Benny the Butcher project.
Yeah, him and Harry Fraud.
So it's around there. It's around there. It's probably better for Pray for Paris. But I think that one is more of like
that's a West Side project.
Yeah, that's a West Side project. So I think it's maybe top 2, top 3.
It's up there, and I think one thing he's mentioned in some interviews is like he wants to refine his sound. That's a word he's used, and I like that wording because this is still the old school sound. It's still the underground. You know, like Pillow Talk and Slander, produced by Hit Boy, who is a newer producer. He's not Timbaland or Swiss Beats, but this sound is from that era. Yeah, so I think there's a bit of like meeting in the middle here that he's doing a good job of like it still gives you that old school feel. You can still screw your face to this, but I don't sound out of date in the same way because I think that's where he does the best, Yeah,
he's modernized it a little bit. Like if you listen to I think it's Griselda Express and Big Timers, like if you don't listen to the words at all, those are actually trap beats. Like they actually have the ticking hi-hat, which is like the signature.
Big Timers especially.
Yeah. Big Timers also is like the woozy nighttime type of synth. So it's definitely, I would say, subtly modernizing. Very subtly.
Yeah.
But those don't fit outside the realm of like songs like Pillow Talk or even 1 Foot In.
Yeah, 1 Foot In is the next one I wanted to talk about because I think 1 Foot In is the best example of the modernizing the old sound.
Yeah.
I think that I don't want to call it a scratch, but it's almost like a hiccup they have in the chorus with the beat, and that just gives it more of like a new school feel, and it makes the pace of the song faster. One thing I've mentioned is a lot of R&B to now sounds like hip hop. It's kind of mimicking the hip hop sound, and they're using not real instruments when there's no need for that. The song is still slow. You could have just had somebody play the drums here. 1 Foot In is doing a version of that, but in the other way of like it is mimicking the newer sound. Where 1 Foot In I think fits into a new school playlist or a new set more than some of these other songs. And now it's Benny Butcher and Stove God Cooks. So it still raps.
Serious work there.
Yeah, still serious raps. But I think that was a great example of like, it's still familiar to the underground. Yeah. But it's not, because I think that's Benny's biggest hurdle he's trying to overcome, even though I don't think he needs to personally, is if someone's listening to, let's say, V's or Lil Baby all day, and then they put on Benny the Butcher, is it going to be like a jump scare when I listen to Tana Talk 4 after I listen to Lil Baby for 2 hours? And 1 Foot In is an example of like, it could fit. Same with Big Timers. Griselda Express is maybe a little bit more new, but he has a few on here that's like, you could put these into playlists and it's not super different.
You want to know why? Because I was thinking about this too, is because the drums sound like you can actually play them. Right? Like we mentioned this before in previous albums where trap drums don't actually sound like a person can play that.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
It has like, it's so like either the ticking is at this weird like pace that like a human being like, I don't know, you would have to be like Dave Grohl to play the drums for that.
Unnatural.
Yeah. But for like a song like 1 Foot In, you can see somebody on the drums playing that
100%. That's a good point. Yeah.
Same with like Big Timers or even again Griselda Express. You can picture like the pace at which the drums are played.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, on stage I can see a person playing that, right? And I think that is the merging point where it's like it's still technically a trap song with that tick 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 tick.
Yeah.
But it's at a speed. It's at a speed. And it's also complemented with like other drums, like actual drums that you're like, okay, somebody can be playing this.
Yes.
Right? When it's like trap's drumming is the 808s, right? That's not natural sound.
No.
Right? Like that's made in a computer, which is fine. I'm not trying to deny. I want to make sure for everybody that's for anybody that's watching this
elitist
or listening to this, it's not, I'm not saying that it's bad because it's made from a computer. It's just like you can sense a difference, right? Yes. And like that difference like definitely plays into, is this an old school song or a new school song?
It matters.
Yeah. So when it's like a trap track, like 808s they're not a natural sound, right? It comes from a computer. Bangs heavy.
Yes.
Bangs like crazy. But that's the difference between when even Nas and Benny are trying to like modernize but not lose the spirit of the old school sound, is that the ticking and the drum sounds are actual drum sounds.
Yes.
Accompanied by the ticking. So it's like, okay, it's still trap, but like we're just like our fingertips are gripping the previous era.
We're still around.
Yeah. So that's why I think that it works for him.
I think you brought this up. I forget who we were reviewing, but you talked about the rumble of the 808, and like sometimes you look for that when you hear a certain song. You're like, I want that rumble.
Yeah.
I think that there's not really any of that on here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that rumble is almost non-existent. These are actual clean drums, clean snares, clean kicks. But I think that these still kind of hit in a way that someone who wants the rumble can still feel satisfied. Mm-hmm. But we're going to look carried away here. It's still Benny, okay?
I don't know
it's still Benny. So I want to highlight my group of songs that are still the Benny tracks.
Hold on. I don't want to say it's too far. I think it is like, I think it's important to him because I do think that Benny the Butcher is like trying to, I don't know if he's trying to come out of the underground, but I'm definitely sensing that he's like, let me see how far I can make this underground sound really big.
I think he is, and I think that he did on the songs that we mentioned, he did that well. Yeah. You know, and I think songs I'm about to mention now is where it is more of the like, you know, we're still staying in the past. Yeah. But I've always thought this is like, you know, there isn't always a certain pop sound. You know, your popularity is part of the sound. Yeah. You know, and I think that this is kind of the middle ground he's seeing, where it's like, you know, we talked about this Pink Pantheress. Mm-hmm. She's not the only one doing her sound, but she is kind of the guiding light for that sound now. Yeah. And so if you want that sound, either they're going to compare you to her or you got to go get her. Yeah. You know, one, two. And Benny is becoming that for the underground hip hop sound. Alchemist is the poster boy for that. We have a few Alchemist tracks that are produced by him on here. Trust More Valuable Than Love, TMVTL. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you have not seen a hood man have that as his like Facebook status, you didn't grow up in the right neighborhood. Buffalo Kitchen Club, produced by Alchemist as well. Griselda Express, produced by Alchemist, and then How to Rap, produced by Hit Boy. Yeah, those four are classic Benny the Butcher type beats. Yes, you could have told me that came out in 2017, and I would believe you. Yeah, those are the songs where it's like, okay, this is your bag, stay in your pocket, tap back in, and if you look at all those songs, the content even matches more that than the rest of the songs. Yeah. You know, Griselda Express is just straight rapping. Like, that's all we're doing, rapping about coke, rapping about the life. How to Rap is Jason giving him a blueprint of how he made it to where he is now. Yeah. Buffalo Kitchen Club is more of that grimy shit, and then Trust More Valuable Than Love, you know, same shit. So I think that he's definitely progressing as an artist completely. You know, again, we're not seeing him singing no time soon. He's not gonna be dropping no R&B tracks. He's not gonna be taking a picture with Taylor Swift. Yeah, he wanted that picture. I wanted that picture when they played the Bills. Yeah, shit. I was like, Taylor, tap in. Please, I know. Please tap in, Taylor. He's asking you kindly. Please tap in.
Those worlds colliding.
Oh my god, a Benny Taylor. I would take Benny Taylor over Benny Ice Spice any day. I mean, or Taylor Ice Spice. Even Benny Ice Spice would be something too.
Yeah, it would be.
But Benny doesn't do drill. Do drill.
But Taylor Swift, just a picture. Just a picture.
Put Taylor in a Scully. Let's do it. Let's do it.
She's crossing over, man. She's crossing over. So I could have.
She's not. But I think there is kind of an awareness from him that's growing of what works and what doesn't. And I think that he's able to grasp that while still staying in his pocket because, you know, we're going to get to lyrics, but his content is mostly the same. You know, he's sharing more of his story, which I think in hip hop, especially when your story is so public, that's a huge part of what you do. But these songs that are the classic Benny the Butcher type beats are more of the classic, you know, Benny the Butcher type songs lyrically. And so for him to put those two together, I thought was really cool. Now, before we get to lyrics, I have one song I want to ask you about specifically. Okay? Because I don't have it in the lyrics. We actually didn't mention it in production. Somehow I knew that would happen. Okay. But Back Again. With him and Snoop, they just released a video for that. He has a bunch of, you know, the games in it, Hit Boys in it. What do you think about that song?
I think it's solid until I hear Snoop Dogg's voice. And I never thought in a million years I would ever be saying something like that. But you don't think he ruins the song? Legit, you don't think his hook breaks the song?
I think it makes the song.
You think it makes the song? Yeah. I think it breaks the. It's like not on beat at all. Like I don't understand. I've been trying to figure out, how it works because when I listen to it, it doesn't work for me, and that's such a weird sensation to feel for Snoop Dogg's music because Snoop Dogg's music is like literally the smoothest a hip hop song like a rap song could ever sound like. So when he was like, doing his hook, which is, it's like 2 words. It's not even. It's
back up in this shit again.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Back up in this shit again.
Nothing crazy, but I felt like he popped in and he was like not on the correct part of the beat. Like I don't know if he like landed on like the downbeat of 1 or like I don't understand.
You know what's funny? I actually liked him because I think I don't know what to credit that to. So I don't want to credit the wrong person, but there is an era and place in terms of regionally in hip hop where that makes sense. And I think that's what Snoop brought to this track. Like, I think production-wise, it already is not as New York as kind of the rest of the album. But I think that part of it, like, Benny couldn't do that. Like, the kind of charisma you need to come in off beat and, in the chorus, that's a very much like Snoop could do that from where he's from. So I thought it was cool. I was iffy about it at first. It's not one of my favorite songs on here. But the more I listened to it, I was like, you know what? Like, this song is gonna grow on me. I can already feel it growing on me. It's gonna grow on me. And two, I think this song is important because I'm talking about Benny's story. Like, there are some stories in hip hop everyone knows. Some stories in hip hop, it's like this dude just pop. Like, it's like someone like Freddie Gibbs. A lot of Freddie Gibbs fans don't know that he comes from the Young Jeezy tree. Right. They don't associate those two together. Freddie Gibbs is just a new artist to them. Yeah. Benny's one of the artists where, whether you're a casual fan or you're a hardcore fan, you're kind of aware of his story more than, the average artist. So this is a part of his story with Snoop. It's been public now, but Snoop basically got him to sign a Def Jam. He made the call in 15 minutes. They were arguing for months about the deal, and Snoop Bailey made it happen like that. And so to have that kind of turn into this song, and Snoop talks about it on the song, I think is important. Because
the ending of the song, he explains that, which I thought was like, what to me that part made the song.
Yes, that was cool. That was cool.
Yeah, that part was awesome. Like where it was like, it's connecting like real life to the song. And I thought that was like, it made the song feel more exclusive. You know what I mean? Like this idea that Snoop is like playing up like this mafioso, like I'm the boss type of thing, and he's just like, yo, I told you, just like one phone call from me and it's done, And I thought that was dope.
That was cool, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that part worked for me.
But you didn't like the chorus. Yeah. I
was like, what is happening? Like I didn't even.
Yeah. That one had to grow on me, but I do kind of understand it better now. But I just wanted to ask about that song because I had a feeling we weren't going to mention it any other time.
It was just like offbeat for me. I didn't even like the production on that one. Like it was really one of the songs that I just like didn't like at all.
To me, I think that could have been left off of here. Yeah. Personally. But I didn't hate it. Yeah. I didn't hate it. So I'm gonna start with the intro. Okay, my first bit of lyrics is pretty small, but I just want to do a little bit of a throwback with this one. Okay, now Jermaine's Graduation.
I love that song. I'm gonna tell you something. When I heard that come on, I was like, the stank face. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
With that piano, it's basically it's almost like a scale.
Yeah.
Right.
Shout out Alchemist.
But that piano is incredible. It just like sets this very luxurious, very shiny,
like the cover, man.
Yeah, seriously, it's very luxurious and shiny environment. And it's like he's walking through like the satin curtains, bro. It's like about to be like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, he's about to lay on his bed with silk sheets and silk pillowcases. And he has this line in there where he says, "It's Butch, I did it solid. Turned visions to dollars. 7-year run, 3 away from that 10 I promised y'all on one-way flight. Brick raw than Monday night." No, I had 2 parts of that. Brick raw than Monday night. We're not going to get the Coke bars to stop at any time.
Yeah, okay? I know you're starting off with them.
The Coke bars are going to come at any point. And I love it. I'm here for it. Like, raw than Monday night, I'm here for it. This 10-year run thing that he's highlighting again. He mentioned it on, was it Burden of Proof was the album, I think? Burden of Proof?
Yeah. Yeah,
Burden of Proof was an album that he mentioned it before. But I like that he's going back to it and kind of giving us an update because I don't know if anyone's keeping track like that. Yeah, of what year he was in. But he said 7-year run, 3 away from that 10. Yeah. What happens at the 10?
I think he might retire. It kind of reminds me of the 21 Savage when he's like, I got like 12 car garage, but I only got 2 cars, and then like 2 years later, he's like, I got the 12 cars on the 12 car garage, you know? So I like that, that being able to call back on like previous songs and stuff like that and being able to tie it together. I think that's a cool effect.
Yeah. And I think too, it's a unique way of putting your own career in perspective in the present.
Yeah.
Because I do think that, no one's really argued about if his run really is a 7-year run or not. That's something the internet hasn't hopped on yet. But, 3 years from now, Benny the Butcher has a 10-year run. It's something we kind of remember because he kept mentioning it. A 10-year run in hip hop is legendary status. Like some of the best artists don't have a 10-year run.
Yeah.
And so I think he's doing this almost foreshadowing of putting himself in that legendary group by keep talking about this 10-year run. Because again, some of our favorite artists don't have a 10-year run.
Yeah.
And at this point, no one's really debating him on this because when I went back to 2018, which is 6 years. So I guess he's right, 7 years of the 10-year run.
Yeah.
From then. So I like that he's just doing that because he's setting it up for us to talk about him highly. In a very kind of slick subliminal way of like, listen, I promise this to y'all. I'm gonna follow through.
Yeah, and I think that he is one of those people who is very aware of their legacy.
Yes.
Very aware of their legacy. I think Benny is one of those people who just is counting like every slight, every time somebody praises him, but is also extremely aware.
Yes.
Extremely aware. I'm like, if you listen to like How to Rap, he literally just like describes his entire setup, like
from the jump, basically. Yeah,
like his entire setup. I was gonna go to a different lyric, but let's do How to Rap real quick, where he's like, first you got to be nice. Like this, he's literally explaining how he got to this point, right? So this is I think there's just one verse, but I'll give you the top of the verse, right, where he's like, first you got to be nice with it. I built my shit ciphering, right? Long hours in dark studios. That was the price of it. Syllables, details, Spoon's house, where I tightened it. Then I got so nice, I looked up and I wasn't writing it. Closer to your dreams now. You're ready for a team now. Niggas who keep you focused, the only ones should be around. I choose hustlers who was with me, holding the streets down. We making dope money off an MP3 file. That's a flex. Now you go crazy. You make the streets hot. They should be playing the shit out of every car, every weed spot, every club, every barbershop till everything's locked. Make sure when people speak your name, everything stop. That's right. That's what I'm saying. Like somebody that extremely aware, very aware. If somebody talks about me, everything needs to slow down. I need to know what's happening, right? Even the idea of like, he starts from like the ciphering to the person in the studios, dark studios, the idea that like there's no lights in the studios, good imagery. But yeah, he basically breaks it all the way down, literally all the way to the bedrock. I do like the flex of like we're making dope money off an MP3 file.
That's a flex. That's a flex. But yeah, I think you're right saying he's aware because he said that before of like when my stuff drops, it's anticipated. And so I think that's very interesting of you saying he's in tune. Is like he really is in tune because we've seen the opposite. I forget who it was, and I'm actually happy I forget who it was, but someone tweeting saying, give me 100 likes if you want the album, and then people being like, no, we don't want it. Like, like Benny's not going. He's the opposite, and so him being aware of that and putting that in his music, you're right. That's pretty unique. Yeah,
so I think that was dope to me. The MP3 again, I want to stress the MP3 file thing because there's so many people who have said, got rich off of like a mixtape, which Drake has said, or rich off of, a hot feature or something like that. But for him to atomize it basically and being like, yo, this thing is like 2 megabytes.
Yeah, like
I'm doing some 2 megabytes and I'm making hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars off of like 50 megabytes. What are you guys doing?
Fact. And again, calling it dope money like he's making the same money he would have made otherwise. So yeah, I like that MP3 bar. This bar that I have is in Everybody Can't Go in verse 1. And I just wanted to highlight more of the drug bars.
Okay.
Because Benny is following Pusha T's footsteps, I would say. Pusha T is...
His music is more interesting, though.
No, it is. And I want to highlight this because this is the thing I think Pusha T never figured out.
Right.
Well, let me not say that because I think he made the choice to rap about coke exclusively. But Benny the Butcher is finding ways to talk about the coke life and the drug life in more easy to understand ways. I think hip hop again is its own language, and if you don't get the slang, you don't know the inside jokes, you don't know they're talking about drugs this whole time. You know, so there's someone out there who thinks "Can't Feel My Face" is actually about falling in love, and so Benny is pulling that back a little bit. Of course, there are still the lines that are like, you know, you have to know, but rawer than Monday Night. That one is like, I don't need to know the drug lingo to understand what that means.
Right.
On verse 1, Everybody Can't Go, he says, the only time you did that was in an ambulance ride. I remember the first time I got my hands on a pie. I broke it down, then sold it 1 gram at a time. No ginger ale, I could have bled Canada dry. Hear the money counter running and my stamina rise. Right there, he took us basically from the start of the pack to the next pack very quickly. Yeah. You know? And something that he started this a lot on the Plugs I Met mixtape, but the idea of him going back and forth and traveling for these drugs and that part of it. I know that sounds small to everyone who's heard drug rap before, but that to people who don't know this lifestyle or unfamiliar, it's like he's putting, you know, visuals to it for you to understand the logistics of it. And so, you know, Benny doing that at this point in his career, you know, some people would say it's overdone. I think it's impressive that he's still doing it. And for him to say, I could have bled Canada dry. Yeah. That's a lot of coke, man. That's a lot of coke.
Yeah, and that's a good double entendre. It's a good double entendre. I would say that Benny's rapping his rapping is really good. Like, I would say that he is probably, I would consider him one of the upper echelon
for sure
rappers in hip hop currently. I think it's gotten significantly better.
I remember you were iffy before. You thought he was a little overrated.
I did, because I was like, I've heard this all, like, when we did Burden of Proof, right? I remember what I said, where I'm like, I feel like I just heard all of this before. Like, the way that it was rapped, the sound that he had, like a production stuff. I'm like, okay, you just throw me the Jadakiss, the Jadakiss album, throw me the Yeezy album. Like, I don't know if I really need this. Jeezy album, sorry, the Jeezy album. And I think that he's improved. Like, that stuff, like the Canada Dry thing, he was not doing that.
True, he has improved.
Right, he was not doing that before. And I would say even and this is my last bit of lyrics I have. This is on Back Again, the song that I don't actually like.
Let's hear it.
The song that I'm not really a big fan of, but he did this sequence that I did really like, where he was like, here we go. Now when I bring that up, y'all get sensitive, ignoring me telling a story about along the premises of us finally finishing, turning that into businesses. Oh well, still selling, still taking coke sales. 1 brick, 2 brick equal what my show sell. Money in a suitcase like Deal or No Deal. I was good with no deal, told you I did wholesale. It's like 1 city, too much hate, 3 legends foresaw it, right? So I think this is what I'm saying. 1 city, too much hate, 3 legends saw it, right? You know, I have money in the case like Deal or No Deal. I was good with no deal, told you I did wholesale. Right, so that's what I'm talking about. Where I'm like, he's much better at like twisting, you know, a show name, right? Yeah. Versus, you know, 1 city, 2, like the too much hate, you know, 3 legends, which he's talking about him in Griselda and everybody else in Griselda. So these are the things that I'm like, oh, okay, he's actually got some dexterity now. You know,
I think he's gotten better too at like those choices. Yeah, you know, Deal or No Deal is a very popular show. Yeah. You know, it makes sense to reference something like that. That's going to stand out the first time I hear this song. Oh, the Deal or No Deal bar. 1 city, too much hate, 3 legends. That's another thing. It's like, that's just simply going to stand out in someone's head and be easy to remember. And so I think that's something that he's getting better at I can still show that I have bars, but make it a little more sticky. Yeah. You know, I don't need to lyrical, miracle, spiritual this to death for, you know, the 8% of fans to get excited. So I like that you highlighted that, because I think this is the evolution of Benny, and talking about, you know, kind of the cohesiveness of the album and this album as a whole. I think I feel the growth in this project a lot. Like, this project, I can see the growth of him. Still an underground artist in terms of sound, I would say. Yeah. But making those choices, whether it's lyrically or production wise, or even aesthetically with the cover. Like this is a different cover from
that's
any
his
cover
best.
he's had.
Probably his. Is this his best? Oh no, we'll save it till after.
Yeah, yeah, because he has some good covers. But there's all these little decisions you see him making that you think would lead to him being a bigger artist.
Yeah,
and I like that. So for overall, I think this helps his career because someone I've been comparing him to in my mind is Nas. And Nas's run with Hit Boy the past few years, and Nas does not have a hit song from that era. True. Like I have plenty of songs that I play from this, Hit Boy King's Disease Magic era, but Nas doesn't have a hit from that era. Mm-hmm. And so to see his kind of career revived with no hit song is something in hip hop a lot of people would say is not really possible.
Yeah, that's true.
And he's at heights I don't want to say he's never been before because he is Nas.
Yeah, but
he's at heights that people thought maybe were done for him at this part of his career. And so I think Benny's kind of following in that footsteps of, I don't need that huge hit. I don't need that, Drake single to this, catapult me.
Yeah.
I can still have huge success, slowly grow, slowly improve, make my sound more palatable. So I think this is definitely a plus for his career and a great major label debut because, technically his major label debut.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that for him overall, it's been constant growth, which is something we like on Album Mode. We like artists.
Please grow.
We like artists who continue to grow just because what's the point in staying the same? Everybody else around you is going to be doing something different. So I think that, it's been a big, I would say that this is great for his career. Overall, I would say that this release is just another notch in the belt for him. I think the only thing that really is missing from his discography at this point is a hit song, but it's something that I don't think he needs at all, like 0%. I think that he's certified, right? In hip hop culture.
Yes.
He's certified. It's not like he is not making money.
Yeah, he's good.
Right? And when he drops stuff, people are paying attention. Right?
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm like, he doesn't really need the hit thing, the hit song, because I just think he's good. Everything that he was trying to accomplish as an artist who makes this type of music, he's good, bro. Like, there's nothing else that's really needed at this point.
Yeah, I do think there could be a world where he has a hit song, but I don't think it will be a solo record. I picture it kind of like the Lox when they had their run where it might be like a Mariah feature or a Bad Boy, something like that. I could see him along those lines of... He
doesn't have songs with 21 Savage, which is weird to me. I feel like he should do...
Yeah, well, that's kind of why I mentioned of him not doing drill and him not doing trap. Like, no trap, basically, no drill.
Yeah.
And I think that's like... I think that's an effort he's choosing to take that route for sure. But I do see like... some kind of R&B feature.
Yeah, that's true.
He did mention that the next album will be more R&B songs. He said, songs for girls. But I think there is a world where, again, almost like Young Thug when he went a little pop and was hopping on all these features. I think Benny could do that. He has to rap on something other than Coke. I think that may be a part of the deal. But I see that there's a world where that could happen. So maybe the next review we do, he'll have a big single. But you're right. You're right that he doesn't need it. I want to say that. You're right that he doesn't need it. I don't think that's like, that's one thing. I don't think that's the one thing missing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this cover. You said you're about to say it might be his best cover. Let's tackle that before we talk about anything else. I think you're half right because this is basically the most his face has been on a cover. And I think that's part of the change of joining Def Jam, trying to be a bigger artist because the single for Big Dog was his face on it. One Foot in the single, he was on the cover of that. He was on the cover of Burden of Proof, but not really in the same way.
Yeah. Pirates Picasso, he wasn't on it.
Well, that technically is him, but...
I mean, okay, it's technically him, but not really, you know what I mean?
Tana Talk is apparently him as a kid, so it's like most of his covers have been either an altered version of him or not really him. This is literally a picture, So to me, Pirates Picasso is my favorite cover. I love that cover.
Me too.
But this I think may be his best album cover. Not my favorite, but actually his best because I think it fits the music. I think it fits the sound. Depends on how it looks. I think it definitely encapsulates the growth of I'm on a major now. I'm a bigger artist. I'm elevating. So I like this cover a lot.
Yeah, and he's also grabbing a color. Like he picked a color. It's basically monochromatic, where it's like this gold, but also like brown, like that shade of gold to yellow brown. He's just like, I'm taking that over. That's mine, which is great, because it stands out so much. Like if you had this on like on a shelf, like it would stick out. Yeah. So I think that the cover is excellent. He's also giving you a look, but the shades are still on. So like there's still like a shadowy aspect.
I may be in a mansion, but I will still rob you.
Yeah. Right. How did you get the money for the mansion?
We do wholesale.
So I think that it's overall a great cover. I think it's probably again one of his best ones for sure.
Last thing I wanted to mention is what he's wearing on the cover, this like silk dress shirt. It's such a different energy from his past projects and covers. And as well, he's not showing any of his chains.
Yeah.
On Burden of Proof, it's like the chains is the main thing you see even more than his face.
Yeah.
And so it's just that little bit of maturity and growth.
He's leveled up, bro.
I like to see that. Before we get to the score, I want to know if you're getting the vinyl for this.
I think this is a borderline vinyl cop. I think for me personally, no.
Okay.
I wouldn't get it, but I wouldn't be upset if you did. I think that, I think that it looks amazing. It's got some good tracks on it. There's some obvious flubs for me.
Yes.
But I think that if somebody was like, no, this is absolutely a vinyl cop, happy for you. Right? Make sure you get it signed at the concert, whenever they're doing the concert.
Yes.
What about you?
I think I would get this on vinyl. And I think music-wise, it's borderline. I feel like the Benny album I would get on vinyl first would be Paris Picasso.
Same.
Or Plugs I Met, the first one. Those are both like 7 songs. So like double disc it. But I think the cover is what takes this one over the edge for me. I think that in Benny's career, this is an important album. And as well, this cover is like a good representation of Benny,
Yeah.
So, I think this one would be something that I would cop. We're at the time everyone's been waiting for.
Okay.
The score. I think you should go first because I feel like the last score you gave Benny, compared to this score, may be a little different.
Did we review Pyrex Picasso? I don't think we did.
No, Paris Picasso was when we were both away at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Because I remember hearing it in Montreal.
Yeah, I'm like, I loved Pyrex Picasso.
Yeah, I think we were both away at the same time.
Yeah, I love that album. That probably would have been like a 8, 9-ish to me. This one, it's a 7.5.
Okay.
It's a 7.5. I think that Benny growing. I think his ability to find the correct producers to work with is actually incredible. I think those guys like Griselda are just like, just give me like the Alchemist beats, Mad Lib.
Yeah, their beat selection is always so good.
Right. And I think that he's harnessed it well. I think that, songs like even songs like Braun, which we didn't even really talk about.
Oh yeah, I love Braun.
Where he's like, it's almost like a Jay-Z, like Kingdom Come type of style of production. Lots of horns, making it sound opulent and stuff like that. But then there's also songs like we were talking about, Big Timers, where it's like he's actually low key adding a little trap spice, to to the production. But overall, when you got like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, where it's like basically just like a typical beat for him, I think that it works too. So production is great. I think that his rapping is developed, right? I think the only thing that holds him back is Snoop. Respectfully. I say that with all due respect to one of the legends, the OGs.
Yes.
Top 50.
Yes.
Right? It was not working for me. I hate to break it to you. It was not working for me.
Listen, that's fair. I can't go to bat for that song, so right. I understand.
And then I would say the other song that I was not a huge fan of was
Griselda Express, you said?
But that's just because that's not his fault.
It's West Side?
It's West Side Gun's fault.
Okay.
So I guess I don't like that song just because West Side Gun is just not working for me. But that's like that's just like a me thing, you know?
What other song do you not like?
And then what is it? Trust is more than love.
More valuable than love.
Trust more valuable than love. Yeah. I just not a huge fan of.
You haven't stood outside a building for no reason enough.
No. No, I have not. I will wholeheartedly admit to that. I am not on the block. I'm not in the. Yeah. I'm not just standing outside mean mugging people. That's not something that's.
That's not bad though, because the 2 songs you don't like aren't even really Benny's fault.
Yeah.
So
you know what?
2 to 3.
It's 7.5. I think it's good. I think it's good. I think one thing that also holds it back for me is like, it's always going to be an iteration. Like, it's always going to be an iteration of something we've heard before.
Yes.
It will always. It's not going to always be that, but up until this point, it's been an iteration of 2003, 2004, 2005, that era of hip hop, or even like 97, 98, whatever, that sequence. So that will always like hurt it for me, just because I'm like, until he figures out a way to innovate it and somehow like become like a revivalist in a way that's like, holy shit, like, we never thought that you could do this aspect, or you never thought you could do that on top of it.
He's not there yet.
Yeah. So that is also a thing for me. Like, it's derivative. It'll always be derivative until he figures out a way to do something like that.
I think that's a good point, because I think something we talked about a couple of weeks ago was 21 Savage, where he's at a place now where it's still hip hop and trap, but like, we didn't see him doing all these things with his music. So I get what you're saying in terms of that. For me, Everybody Can't Go, Benny the Butcher, it's an 8.5.
Okay.
I like this album a lot. The one thing I felt with this album more than any other Benny album is his ability to kind of carry us through the whole project. Like, this album could have been just him, and these all would have been still really good songs.
Yeah.
And I think like that quality, it hasn't always been there with him, where it's like the hype of the feature is what this song needs. Even the features that I do like.
Peasy, I love that feature. Peasy, not a big draw.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And he made a lot of stylistic choices on this that I think really fit this project. And I think what he did amazingly well is he gave some stuff for the old fans while still showing his growth. And I think that, choice to make of where you land on that is the hardest thing for artists making their major label debut, of like, do I just make 10 Pillow Talk and Slanders, or do I do a song like One Foot In, and who do I have on One Foot In? So I think, whether it's him or his team, they made a great job, or did a great job of all those choices this time around. So for me, it's 8.5. I think this album really sets the tone for rap to start 2024. I'm very excited to see where everyone comes after this, because although Benny's one of the best rappers, I think technically and skill wise, in terms of the range of what he can do musically, he's on the lower end.
Yes, I agree.
And so I think that for someone who's doesn't have that kind of range to put out an album this good to start the year, the clock is ticking at everybody else. All the rappers who got all the different styles and different voices, your album got to be at least as good as this.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear all that different shit, and it's not as good as this. So I like this album a lot, setting the tone. 8.5 for me.
7.5 for me.
I guess so far this is the best rated album of the year.
Bro, you haven't even exited January yet. It's like, album of the year, baby.
Well, listen, I don't know what's coming next. This may not be the album of the year for long, but at least as of now, including both of our scores,
it's an 8.
Highest rated album of 2024 from Album Mode. So put that in your press release.
Yeah.
Def Jam, Album Mode.
We know you're listening.
Album of the year for 2024.
Yep.
I like this project a lot. I want to thank everyone for listening to us, making it this far into the podcast. Of course, you know what to do. Leave us a rating and a review, 5 stars, not a single star less. Of course, follow us on the interwebs. On Twitter at Album Mode Pod, on TikTok at Album Mode Pod, on Instagram at Album Mode Pod. Of course, all my people on YouTube, follow us, share this video, leave us a comment, let us know. Do you agree? Best album of the year so far? Are we gassing it? Let us know. Of course, subscribe to us at Album Mode on YouTube. And until next time, know yourself, know your worth.
Later, people.